Welcome back to the Puma Podcast. I'm Tory.
Hey, and I'm Puma.
And on this podcast, Puma, what do we do here?
We talk about Jesus,
Yes.
life,
That's right.
and everything in between.
And all the in-betweens.
Which today is, what is our purpose?
What is our purpose?
That's the everything in between.
That is...
Or the everything.
Right, the purpose is the fuzzy gray between those two. Yeah, that's absolutely right, guys. Today we're talking about what our purpose is. And if you're a Christian, like, this is super important. If you're not a Christian, it's actually equally important. But this podcast, I don't want to assume y'all know Jesus. But if you do, this is good for everybody. Right.
Understanding
our purpose really does set our life in a direction to really impact eternity, and not just ourselves, but for other people.
Well, we assume purpose with everything. Even if we don't think about it, we're not conscious about it.
True.
You know, like intention. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I got up today on purpose. There was a reason why I got up today. Now, that purpose might be because I have to go to work. It might be because I got a date tonight. You know,
Right.
So maybe you got up and you showered and you're just kind of working on your, summer bod, right? Get kind of,
grow that dad bod for the summer.
There you go. Yep. So we do things on, we unintentionally have intention, sometimes unconscious, but we do things on purpose all the time.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know this past week I went to go meet a pastor, and I grabbed the wrong shirt. It was sweaty and gross, and I forgot deodorant. And I thought, wow, I did not purpose this trip well. But anyway, so yeah, hey, let's talk about our purpose.
Our purpose. Yeah. So, what is our purpose? Or we just say it, or
what is our purpose? You know, there are lots of definitions. And actually, before I even answer that question, when I mean purpose, what do I mean by that? There have been lots of people, both in my own life and questions I've had about our purpose, and just the big, like, why do I exist? Especially from Christians, which is really sad. I've heard a lot of my Christian friends be like, yeah, I go to church and I love Jesus and I volunteer, but, it's 2 a.m. in the morning and I just, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, okay, I volunteer, but, like, what's the point? And I feel for my friends, because I've been there, and I think it's very easy for us to do Christian things, but we don't know our purpose.
So you're saying it feels more like a duty?
Yeah, it's an obligation, or like
duty and obligation. Maybe not knowing why I'm doing it.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah, what's the point? I know it's good.
It's Sunday morning again. Oh man.
I know. Yeah, right. It's like, it's no longer fun to be a Christian, and I think it all goes back to our purpose. And everybody wants to be purposeful. Nobody wants to. I want to work 40 years at a job and do absolutely nothing to help anybody.
I want to wake up and move the pile of rocks to the other side of the room.
Right.
And then tomorrow morning get up and move them back. Right. I mean,
Yeah, nobody wants that. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, our purpose, and I guess, what would you say, Puma, to those Christians and even non-Christians who just, like, yeah, I don't know, life is fun, but at the end of the day, it's not that fun. I feel like there's something more. What is our purpose as humans?
Yeah. Well, one of the many verses in the Bible, I mean, there are a lot of great verses in the Bible, but, one that kind of sums up some of this would be 1 Corinthians 10:31, where Paul says to the church in Corinth there, so whatever you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. To do everything for the glory of God. And throughout the Bible, this concept of the glory of God seems to be kind of one of those kind of markers as to our ultimate purpose. And so, what is that? What is the glory of God? I mean, when you hear that, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, glory of God, making God happy. I mean, doing something that makes God look good, valuable, right? I mean, something that I do that, and I would, not necessarily my definition, but I've heard people say it's really just appeasing God. Like, when I do good things, God is happy. That's giving him glory.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we use the word appeasement to define glory, well, see, people are seeking self-glory all the time. So if I'm trying to get glory for myself, am I just appeasing myself? What am I trying to do? Like, so when I'm out imaging myself. I'm on social media and I'm posting all of my accolades. And what am I trying to accomplish in that? I mean, what is...
Yeah, to get self-recognition, to feel valued, to get those likes, those hearts, validation.
Yeah. To be seen as important,
Image,
worthwhile, successful.
Right. We go on this trip. I
Worthwhile.
was at this beach. Look what I did this summer. Yeah, always kind of to impress people, to look like you are someone that worth being friends with, that are cool.
Right. Yeah. So like the Olympics, those that win, they go on the stand, the gold medal, and everyone like glory, right? They achieve glory.
Fame.
Fame. We put them up on a pedestal to highlight them, right? So when Paul says whatever we do, whether we eat or drink, whatever we do it all for the glory of God. We do it all for the glory of God. We do it all for the glory of God, not for the glory of self. So we do things for glory all the time. It's just, who are we glorifying? Who are we magnifying? Who are we highlighting? Whose importance are we highlighting? Whose value are we promoting? Yeah. So to live purposefully or purpose every day, we're living to pursue glory or to give glory. The question is just, whose glory are we wanting to promote? Ours or God's.
Right. Well, yeah, and I'm even just thinking about purpose, and like it's summertime, right? We just 4th of July. I think a lot of us really do. Yeah. I mean, there's every summer there's this picture. Oh, I had this barbecue, and look at me and my American whatever, and fireworks and stuff, which is all great.
Look at me laying out on the beach. Look at my tan.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think summer is really an extra dose of, I better have an awesome summer. Even when they talk about it, this is my summer. This is like my trip. This is my whatever. And we do kind of get into this kind of, honestly, arrogant sense of, this is about me. The school year, you have work, you have school, whatever. But this summer, this is my summer. Like, this is like, we like personify it as if this is something we can control and own. And it's almost like looked down upon to not share that with the world.
Yeah, which is amazing because, after we come back, we have pictures and we like it, but the satisfaction is gone. We're on to something else. I mean, it doesn't satisfy. Or suppose you didn't go, on a trip or go to the beach. You just had to work all summer long, and you wake up at 2 a.m. and you're like, what's the point?
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's a great, like contrast for those who do work, those who are adulting, you know.
I'm not as valuable as someone else. Or maybe God hates me because I don't have time off to do that sort of thing.
Right. And don't have a relationship. Everyone's posting, I went on a walk with my girlfriend.
Feel depressed. Yeah. I'm a Christian. I feel depressed all the time.
Yeah. Right. What is my purpose? So to glorify God, like you read from 1 Corinthians, I mean, and Galatians, all for the glory of God. Like, what does that mean? Yeah. Because a lot of times I don't feel like I'm glorifying God, and I probably, if I look in the mirror, if I'm honest, I really don't think I've got much to offer either. Like what can I give? Like, I volunteer at youth group. I help with VBS, and I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah. Well, Romans 1. Some of those verses that might be familiar with some that are listening, where, that the glory of God and the manifold wisdom of God and the greatness of God is seen, can be clearly seen, but men suppress the truth because of their wickedness. And then it goes down a little further. It says that in our suppression of truth, that God is amazing and God is worth highlighting and God is worth promoting. In our wickedness, because of our sinful hearts, we don't want to give him glory. We want self-glory. And so the way we do that is we exchange the glory of God for animals and other things. And so this is what worship is all about. Worship is giving worth or value to something else. And so when we're worshiping God, or worshiping, say, the dollar bill, or we're worshiping, my skill or whatever, we're giving worth or value to something. And so our hearts desire to give glory or to glorify something. I mean, that's part of how we're created. We're created to be in awe of something greater than us, something amazing. And so part of our ultimate big purpose is to glorify God. When I was a kid, we used to have catechisms.
Is it a Catholic thing?
No, it's just, catechisms, it was basically just taking theological truths and putting them in kind of a succinct sentence as a way of memorizing like truths.
Gotcha.
And so the way they would teach them is there'd be a question, and then you give the answer. And the very first one, like the Westminster Confession, Catechism, the very first question was, what is the chief end of man, or what is the purpose of man? Really, it's the very first question, right? I mean, if you don't know what the purpose is, why does everything else matters, right?
Right.
So, as a kid, I didn't know what a chief end was. Now as an adult, okay, the purpose. What is what is the ultimate purpose and goal?
The chief end? I'm not a Kansas City
What is
fan.
a chief end? Yeah, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. All right, here we go. Yeah, so what is the chief end of man? And so then the answer that we memorize as kids, and this was just kind of a summation of a conglomerate of passages throughout the Bible. And what is the chief end of man? And the answer, the chief end of man, we used to say, is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. And as I've gotten older, I've realized the importance of both halves of that answer. You see, if my goal is just to glorify God, so I am just a tool or an instrument or
a billboard,
a pot, to be a highlighter.
Right? Yeah, it sounds like being used.
Yeah, so what am I? Well, I am the planet Jupiter. What's my purpose? To glorify God, right?
It doesn't sound very relational at all.
I am the Rocky Mountains. What is my purpose? My purpose is just to glorify God. I mean, isn't that what creation? That's what, he says, that the heavens declare the glory of God.
That's true, yeah.
The heavens declare the glory of God. God's creation declares his glory. What is amazing is that we too are to declare the glory of God, but there's a second part to that, by enjoying him forever. We declare the glory of God by being in relationship with him.
Yeah, that's key.
Yeah. Different than mountains and planets and animals. This is what it means to be created in the image of God. Male and female created in God's image. We're created on purpose, for a purpose, to bring glory to God, to give glory to God, to glorify God. And we do that through being in right relationship with him. So Ephesians chapter 2 says that we are seated with Christ and we're lifted up with him in the heavenly realms, so that in the coming ages, our lives will be a highlighting the grace and mercy of God. Because every moment in eternity, you and I will always know forever that we don't deserve to be there. So being there doesn't make much of us. It speaks volumes about the heart and character and love of God, that he wants to be with us. He wants to dwell with us. So when I was a kid, what is the chief end or purpose of man? The chief end of man is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. So that is the kind of the 10,000 foot big picture of what is our purpose. My purpose is to make much of God, and I do that through being in right relationship with God.
Yeah. So with that, okay, we know our purpose is to glorify God, and that only happens really through relationship, because I think it's a great like analogy. Like, yeah, nature can point to God, but they don't like have a relationship with God.
Right. Not the way we do.
Right. Yeah. Right. People are made in God's image. And so to glorify God, it looks different. It looks different for mankind, especially because we were the ones that sinned. Again, that's a relational word. Right. It broke relationship. So with that, though, as a Christian, okay, so we want to glorify God. We want to enjoy God, yet we still feel like we lack meaning and purpose. Why is that? Why do Christians, myself included at times, feel like I just don't know if God's even proud of me, if he wants to use me, what I'm doing here as a 25-year-old or whatever? Why do Christians who love the Lord, who want to bring him glory, why do we get so discontented with where we're at?
No, that's a great question. And I think, part of the issue is we don't know why God has left us here after we come to know him relationally.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if our ultimate purpose is to give God glory and enjoy him forever, to be in relationship with him that lasts forever, then why does he still leave us here after we come to know him personally on this earth? Is there ways that God wants us to live out that purpose here until he takes us,
right? So why did he just take us to heaven the moment we believed?
Yeah. If our, because, I mean, forever, we're going to be a highlighter that he's amazing forever.
That's true.
So does God have say a sub-purpose or a purpose for accomplishing the greater purpose by leaving us here? Like, what is our purpose on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, in our families and, on the job and all of that? When Paul says in 1 Corinthians that whatever we do, whether we, eat or whatever work or whatever, we do it all for God's glory, right? Well, that's great, but that's very general.
Yeah, right.
That's very general. Can it be more specific? And I think it is more specific. And I think the key to that is Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how you mentioned, like, we focus on ourselves. We seek to glorify ourselves, but we're not necessarily seeking to glorify Jesus. Yeah, if I could interpret that a little bit to mean part of the reason why we are, as Christians, maybe discontent, don't find purpose and meaning, is because as we're doing Christian things, we're not focusing on Jesus. We're focusing on our Christian things. Like, we almost have a sense that God is proud if I help with Awana, and if I go on this mission trip, and if I, do these things.
Or I have to earn his love, otherwise I'm in trouble.
Right. And not that those things aren't glorifying God, but like you said, the key of glorifying God, and as the Bible says, it's not in what we do, it's in who we love, and that's Jesus. If we are doing Christian things like doing VBS or helping with, I don't know, the tech team on Sundays, like, those are great. That is and can be worship. But if we're doing it because we want people to see us, if we're doing it because we think we are God's best, if we're proud in that service, we're missing Jesus. And a quick story here too. I remember in my old church, I was a guy, he was retired and he used to drive the bus for the school district. And he told me as a youth pastor, like, Tory, whatever you need, I'm here to drive the bus. If you need a place for teens and you want to be in the back seat, with them, fellowshipping, that's fine. I'll be the guy. Give me a call. Whatever you need, I want to be available. And he said, I feel like my purpose right now is to be the bus driver for the youth group. And one of the teens says, wow, it sounds like a pretty lame purpose. And I was thinking about that in this conversation, like, is that lame? Like, this old man had so much joy in driving a bus, and that was his purpose. And yet for him, that was worship. To be able to do a mundane thing like drive a bus, it wasn't like preaching, teaching. He was just this old guy in the back that would be able to drive the bus. But yet for him, the focus was on Jesus, not him driving the bus, not him, loving me, the pastor, or the students. It was, God's given me a gift, and I want to be used for Jesus. If I can be used to drive a bus, that was such a big deal for him. He had so much satisfaction in being able to drive a bus. And I just think, wow, that's not like going over to Haiti and doing mission trips. It's not, some big Christian thing. And yet it was all for Jesus. And there was so much joy I saw in him to do that.
What's interesting in that is anybody can drive a bus, in the sense like an atheist can drive a bus.
It's true.
So if an atheist is driving a bus, are they glorifying God and enjoying him?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's so anybody can drive a bus. What makes this unique is driving a bus, and the way he loves Jesus is by serving Jesus, serving the church, serving people. In other words, to love, and Jesus said this, that the greatest command is love God with your heart, soul, and mind, and the second is to love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus wedded those two Old Testament principles together. And then he says in Matthew 22 that the rest of the law, slides underneath that. So every command in the Bible is to help us to love God and help us to love people. We love God by loving people. The only way we can truly love people is by loving God. So if I'm an atheist and I'm driving a bus because I want to be nice and helpful, right? That's being nice and helpful, but who gets the glory in that?
Yeah, the guy who's driving.
The guy who's driving the bus. But if I'm driving a bus because I love Jesus and I want to serve these kids so that they too can see Jesus and move to Jesus. Who gets the glory in that? Right?
Jesus,
That's the work of God in the heart of a man who finds pleasure and purpose in driving a bus to do something that is for God and for people. So yeah, it's just a shift in focus and intentionality and in perspective.
No, that's really good. I'm excited because I think the next podcast we're going to segue this conversation into a little more focus, because like you said, this is like the 10,000.
It's like a 10,000 foot view, right?
Yeah.
And I think the focus, Jesus, I think, really helps us understand why are we still here. If our purpose is ultimately to know God relationally and to enjoy Him, and that gives Him glory of what He does in and through us, that highlights Him, not us, then why are we still here?
Yeah.
And this is why the Christian life. I do all the Christian-y things. Is there a purpose in all of those things here and now until He calls us home that we're missing? And so that's where we're going to look at the next podcast.
No, that's good. Yeah, our purpose, just to recap, is if we're focused on ourselves, even Christian things, it's not for the glory of God, it's for our glory in our works or in what we do. And yeah, Jesus is the key for our purpose. Well, guys, if you have any questions, thank you so much for coming alongside us as we do these podcasts. And if you have any questions, you can email us at thepumapodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, thoughts, even stories, that maybe we will share, we would love to hear them. And also, if you have any friends that you think would benefit from this podcast, please share this. I've always find encouragement from just even learning with you guys. But if we can bless someone else, please share this. We'd love to get the word out. So yeah, guys, hey, thank you for tuning in, and tune in next week, Fridays at 10:10 a.m. for the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.